Petition 938,
Where's the...
Anthony Curtin. This is a continuation from last month. You want to read the...
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. You got it?
We asked for a clarification of
You can read it.
the bylaw, and we're going to read it.
You want to read her letter, or you want to read this?
We have a letter from,
You want me to read that?
yeah, from the attorney.
Yep. So this is the letter from Attorney Quessel. These are her words. In my opinion, the storage of fuel, whether in-ground or above ground, would constitute storage, and therefore would qualify for the first part of the definition. With regard to the second part of the definition, under 167.3, light industrial use, an industrial enterprise, this is quoting from the bylaws, an industrial enterprise such as manufacturing, storage, processing, fabrication, packaging, and assembly that does not create a nuisance from noise, vibration, smoke, glare, radiation, flashing, or other emissions to adjacent properties. Further said, light industrial use should not be a hazard to public safety or health, nor have noxious or toxic waste byproducts. Her letter states, in my opinion, it is that the applicant must provide evidence to the Zoning Board of Appeals that the storage of fuel does not create a nuisance from noise, vibration, smoke, glare, radiation, or flashing. Based on the information provided to me, the applicant has provided the board with a sound level survey dated July 1st, 2021 that indicates that noise levels at a similar facility configuration are at background levels 170 feet from the pump, which is the approximate distance from the pump to the property line at Curtin Oil property. Further, the applicant submitted supplemental information outlining the noise, vibration, smoke, glare, radiation, and flashing with regard to the project. I note that abutters also spoke out against the project, but I did not see any evidence associated with their complaints. Therefore, the board will need to determine if, based on the evidence presented, the storage of fuel, quote, does not create a nuisance from noise, vibration, smoke, glare, radiation, flashing, or other emissions to adjacent properties, end quote. Further, if the board does determine that the proposed project is a light industrial use entitled to a special permit, such grant of a special permit may, quote, impose conditions, safeguards, and limitations on time or use, end quote, from General Laws 48, Section 9. Therefore, in my further opinion, the special permit may be conditioned to monitor and limit sound levels and/or to limit hours of operation to limit any potential noise disruptions. Please let me know if you need anything further. So that's the letter from Attorney Quessel that we had asked for in our previous meeting.
Do you have anything to add to break down the sound, or
No further.
that's it?
No further information.
All right. Anybody in the audience want to say something? State your name.
The sound that was found by his representative, right?
Yes.
So I
That's
would
the
ask
same.
that it be done by outside source that's not out of his project.
Was it done by you or by an outside source?
I consider myself to be an outside source.
Right.
He worked with him.
Conflict of interest.
Mr. Chairman? Last week or last month, the last meeting that we had, you had mentioned that you were looking at soundproofing the pump, and that seemed to be a good solution. What has happened with that?
I'm sorry?
Soundproofing the pump.
Yeah, it wouldn't be difficult at all.
I mean, have you looked into it? That was the question that we asked last month.
Well, I didn't look into it specifically. It's just by experience. I know that you can deaden the sound. Deaden the sound of pumps. We insulate them when we're pumping biofuel and things like that. And if you do it with a kind of a doghouse, it dampens the sound.
I mean, noise is a big issue, and that's why we asked, you mentioned it, and we asked if it would be your best interest to come up with the soundproofing, and that's what I thought you were going to bring here tonight, to tell us that the soundproofing cut the decimal levels way down. But we don't have that, so I'm a little concerned about that.
Yeah, I didn't understand it, that I needed, to go out and provide additional information.
Now, what could you do to lower the sound level?
Build a doghouse over the pump,
And that would lower the sound level considerably?
But my study showed that we wouldn't really need to do it, although you could, if you made a condition, it would certainly,
I mean, at 170 feet, if you're standing at 170 feet, would you be able, would it be muffled or would it be loud as it is?
I'm sorry.
At 170 feet from the street, if you're standing at the edge of the street, would you be able to hear that, or would you be able to speak like we're speaking right now?
Yeah, well, I think that you would not be able to hear the pump at 170 feet. Yeah, that's what my sound study showed.
Yes, sir. State your name.
Steve Adams, 22 Cranberry Drive. I know there's a lot of emphasis on the noise associated with the pump, but I think that we're overlooking the noise associated with the entire process here. So it's not just the decibels of the pump and the dog housing that you can put over the pump. It's also the noise associated with the trucks pulling in and out of his driveway. It's the idling noise. If you force him to turn the trucks off, then you're going to have the starting and the stopping of the engine of the noise. It's the air brakes depressing. It's the scraping of the mechanism to hook it up to the pump. There's conversation that he will have with whoever's filling the pump. It's not just the noise associated with the motor. It's the whole process's noise. And I don't know, again,
How much, excuse me, sir.
Sure.
How much noise do you think it's going to be, how much noise it's going to make from where this project is to your house?
I don't know, and quite frankly, neither does he, because he has no expertise in noise. So anything he's submitted to me, there's no court in this land that would take that for face value.
Well, we can put conditions that, the hours of operation, the receiving the oil could be in the daytime or...
All I can tell you is I ran by, as I do every day, at about 4 p.m., not 4 a.m., 4 p.m. And there was traffic going down Route 106, and just happened to be one of his trucks, probably him. Was a little afraid for a moment he might try to, end me there based on all these conversations, but needless to say, the noise of his truck was louder than the regular traffic of Route 106. So if I could hear that noise at 4 p.m. with a lot of traffic, I'm going to hear noise all day long at weird hours, and again, it's not just the level of noise, it's the frequency of noise. If you ever have an animal in your house, I have a dog, for instance, different noise affects you differently, particularly at different times of the day or night. So again, I just wanted to underscore here, without calling on a huge soapbox, that it's not just as easy as putting a doghouse in terms around the actual motor. The entire process is going to be noisy. Noisy, and that I think
Is he making noise now? What he's doing right now, is it, can you hear him?
I heard it today. I heard his truck pulling in and out. It just, anytime you have...
Because you were standing, at the time you were running by or walking by,
Yep.
you heard the noise.
I did.
But if you were at your house, you wouldn't be hearing the noise.
I think it's an unfair question, to be honest.
No, it's not.
I'm not a noise expert.
No.
Nobody in this room is. So I think my point here is twofold. One, again, the whole process is noise. Can't get around that. And two, any piece of material that he submitted having no background in noise is not bad. Thank you.
Would you like to say something?
Yeah. I've stood in your front yard, and I know you live. Neither one of you are going to be impacted in any way. Noise, visual, vibration.
Tony.
You can drive by. You have to come to my house. You can't hear from your house. Can't hear from your house. You can't see. I've been in your
let's
front
address
yard.
the chair.
Tony.
That's my house.
Tony, you have to direct
Address
the
the
board.
chair, please.
Yes, ma'am.
If this goes through and they decide to put limitations on time and, when and how many, whatever it is, who is going to be policing that? And if they don't stay within the parameters of deliveries this time or that time, who is able to make the complaint? Who do they complain to? Are there
They have to
fines?
complain,
What is-
they have to come back in front of the zoning board.
So it could be a month.
The conditions are put by the zoning board to the applicant.
And if they break the rules that you have set out, they'll be complaining in writing, have to get on the agenda?
Yes, then there's fines that, and then they rectify the fines.
Okay. My concern is that if you say okay and then put the limitations on them, he's already had the whole facility done.
But he's-
The tanks put in, and if he's not, once or twice a week, oh, sorry, someone came by late, I can't help it. I think that's a lot of our concern, is it might not be able to be controlled.
We're missing the point here. This man is operating right now. He's operating a legitimate business right now.
Correct.
All he's asking for is storage facility. He has a storage, he has a permit for a storage facility, but all he's asking to increase the storage and to operate, and the concern here is the noise. We can say the hours of operation from certain time to, do the hours of operation that would satisfy everybody.
Just to add too, so the building inspector is also the zoning enforcement agent, so you wouldn't have to wait a month. You could call town hall and he would go out there and probably do those readings or do whatever, respond to that complaint. So and he would usually write something up and give us that at the next meeting. Sorry.
Karen Baker, 66 Tyler Wadsworth. Just so that you know, I called the building inspector a month and a half and asked a question. Now we even returned my phone call. So that doesn't sound like a very good answer to me.
It's not the same inspector as it was a month and a half ago.
They just turn it over.
Okay, I'm just saying, I called a
Right.
month and a half ago and everything got a return phone call.
We haven't met him yet, so I agree with you. So that might not be great.
I don't know the people in the town. Has Tony's direct abutters been at this meeting at all?
Yes,
Does anybody know?
Any direct abutters,
the director could not have a say because he's on committees.
everybody has a say.
No,
I mean,
he had to recuse himself from the vote for any discussion without getting in trouble. So that's why he was here. He was present for a couple of meetings, but they could not have a say. So
That's not true.
I'm sorry.
Why is that?
why doesn't he have a
Because
say?
they were advised by council to watch what they do.
That's not true.
But my concern is more than just noise. My concern is the appearance. It's not, they have right now a permit for underground storage.
Yes.
There are no underground tanks in this town, correct?
It was a gas station at one time,
There's no underground storage tanks right now.
but they have the permit for it.
But they have a special permit for that.
Yes.
But that's, you're making it sound like he's operating his business
But-
in pumping right now, and that's not the case.
Okay, but Mr. Greeley, let's go back up further. Mr. Greeley has a permit for above ground. And the law, and the law says that he can have an above ground. This gentleman can have an above ground storage
With a special permit.
with a special permit.
That's why we're here, but we're giving you the reasons why we don't feel it's valid. And we're still concerned with the health concern. We're still concerned with the visual concern. We're concerned that what if there's a spill? Who's gonna pay for the cleanup? How is our small town going to afford to clean that up? We don't have the people.
It's in a container.
His property.
It's in
You
a
have to clean it
container.
up. It's his property. That's how the law works. You're responsible for your own spills on your own property.
What is the pleasure of the board? Do you have anything to add?
Chairman,
Would you like to add something?
one of the requirements of a special permit is that the Board of Appeals has found that the involved will not be detrimental to the established future character of the neighborhood or the current character of the neighborhood, which I think the character is kind of rural, country feel, and your facility to me is industrial. It's not the character of the neighborhood. I think it's more suited for industrial area of town, not that portion of town.
I haven't changed the character of my property.
But I think
It was like that when I
putting up
bought
the
it.
storage, 50,000 gallons of storage, I think is changing the character of that part of the town.
How? It's already been there since the Depression. It's been licensed since
Licensed, but you don't have
1978.
an above ground 50,000 gallon of storage. To me, that's very industrial looking. and it belongs in an industrial area of town.
You could put landscaping in that would, shield whatever you're sleeping
It's a
around.
lot of landscaping now, you're affecting how the trucks enter and exit.
No.
Landscape roads.
The hours, I don't know how you're gonna control when the trucks arrive, depart. I know they like to do the overnight hours, I know from personal experience. But I don't know if dispatch has that much control that you can dictate when they deliver.
Anybody else?
I think Bob is right. I mean, you gave us some pictures of some street view areas. You gave us some pictures of the East Bridgewater facility, and I think maybe these are two different ones, but there's one in Brockton, there's one in Stoughton you gave us the pictures of. All of them look industrial, and all of them...
Very residential neighborhoods. That's the point of the pictures.
Correct, but I would argue that probably all of those towns don't have the zoning that we do. And arguably, if I was looking to... So part of, I think, what their argument is not what you've had the permits for forever. I think part of what their argument that I think is valid is the effect on their neighborhood, where if someone was going to come into this town and look at buying a house in that neighborhood and they saw what I'm looking at in these pictures, it's not going to increase the value of their home, or it's not going to increase the character of that neighborhood. It may change it.
I don't live in the neighborhood. You know, just because they're thousands of feet away. In one instance, a quarter of a mile, almost a mile to go by the roads.
You go all the way to the back of the neighborhood, but if you're in the front of that neighborhood, I think there's an effect. I mean, I don't think there are questions about whether or not this is suitable in this town at all. I don't think that's the right question to ask here. I think the right question to ask is the same one I've kind of brought up a few times, which is, is this a light industrial use, which our attorney kind of clarified for us that it is. And if that's the case, is this the right type of light industrial use? Is it not going to impact the neighborhood based on noise and deleterious effect, which is what is in the bylaws? And when you approve a special permit, I think it comes back down to, is it going to affect the character of the neighborhood by allowing a special permit? If they didn't think that, and they think that all light industrial use is okay in the business district, the bylaws would just say yes, and they don't.
Defining what I'm doing now.
It sounds to me like what you're doing now, and tell me if I'm wrong, is going somewhere else to get what you're going to have on your property. So the transfer of that material is happening somewhere else, and you're just keeping it in the truck, right? But what's going to happen from this point forward is that the two things that it sounds like is going to happen is the transfer of that is now going to happen on 106 in Halifax instead of Quincy. And everything that needs to be brought to that facility that normally goes to Quincy is now going to come to your house or to that property.
Just not being doing large capacity.
He's doing it now with smaller trucks, which means
That's
which means more trips.
More
Yep.
trips going into the property.
10,000 gallon tanker, truck bring it in. That's three. He has three now to make that volume.
Yeah. I think, it's more, so I totally understand why you want to do it. The trips are probably terrible to make all the time. But what it does mean is there's going to be increased heavy traffic, right? The trucks are bigger, and what's being stored on that property is much more.
We did a traffic study.
Yep.
And we showed that based on the traffic on the road,
Yep.
we would not be even impacting it in the slightest.
Yep.
So you can't use traffic as your basis.
Yep. And your response to that is, in my neighborhood, it might the 3 or 4 trucks a day, maybe on the number of cars that go down my street, negligible. But if I had those 3 trucks going down my street, I'd notice them 3 or 4 times a day. And it would impact my neighborhood. And I think that that's what they're concerned about too.
But they're doing that now.
And they're not gonna drive those trucks through their neighborhoods.
Correct.
That's what he's doing now to go to prison.
With different, smaller trucks and not storing that on the
But-
property, right?
But the trucks that are coming in, there's only 1 or 2 a week to fill the tank. That's just gonna be a storage tank for him to reload, unload, and reload. Other than that, all he's adding are those 2 trucks that are coming in, trailers that are coming in one way and out the other, and emptying their fuel into the storage tank, and he's gonna be using the same trucks that he's got now, back and forth, like he's been doing. The only thing he's doing is allowing somebody to come in there, build a storage unit for him. He's allowed 30,000, right, on his permit. What's that? No, what do you have for 50? No, on your old permit. 50. I mean, he's got 50.
But underground.
Underground, he got 50. And if he had it underground, he would have to pump it up to his trucks. He'd have the same problem. But it's just, all he's doing is adding 2 trucks probably per week, or 1 a week to recharge that big tank.
I mean,
If I didn't change the definition of the tanks, use the existing license, what's your opinion? I've already got it, and I just want to use that.
Is it a
Put the tanks in
different?
the ground, and everything else is going to happen. The loads are going to come, I'm going to disperse it from...
You want to put it in the ground?
No, I don't. I want to be able to look at it. But what would it be if I just use my existing license?
In the ground is more dangerous than above
I
ground.
want it in the ground.
I know that.
That's the point of my whole application.
Right.
So that I can monitor. But if I did it the other way, using the license that I have, how's this opinion that we have now change?
Would have to ask the
Yeah, I
town
don't,
council.
License, why would I even need to ask? I have the license to have underground storage currently. If I ask for a permit to build it, would I be here?
probably because you need a special permit to have
To
a
build
light
it.
industrial use in a business zone,
I mean,
commercial zone.
on Route 105 and 106, there's heavy trucks that are there daily on both roads.
Right, I mean,
It's no different. I mean, if there's one more tanker that's gonna go to his place,
I mean,
it's not like it's a huge difference. 105 and 106, there's a tremendous amount of traffic on both highways. And there are large vehicles that are down there all the time. It's something that we don't see, we see it all the time. It's not like, oh wow, here comes a tanker truck. I mean, that happens on a daily basis.
And the thing is that for 9 months out of the year, you might be talking about 1 tanker truck a week. That's what we're really talking about here. That's, this is what we've been covering in the last couple of hearings, is that this is a 3 months a year operation when everybody has their windows closed because it's cold. That's why they're buying oil. In my sound study, I showed that you can't hear these pumps behind a closed window from that distance. And put right into it a condition that he silences the pump even more, then we will build a hut, soundproof hut over top of it. You probably won't even be able to hear it from outside the pump, not significantly. And you're still going to have the truck traffic, still going to have his vehicles.
you're gonna have more noise in the daytime than at night anyway, so, because of the traffic going back and forth.
Right.
On both
You
sides.
won't be able to hear the pumps at the road during the hours that, if you were to limit them to the hours, you wouldn't hear it.
My wife and I try to communicate across our front yard. We use hand signals. We use sign. We cannot hear each other talk. The noise is going to be canceled by the traffic. There's a car a second goes by my house. I got my own little leg over survey. I'm sitting with a piece of paper and pencil. Tick, 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 tick.
Mr. Chairman?
2,000 cars a day go by my house.
Go ahead.
So one thing I look for, and it's funny that the attorney actually stated it, is, I'm gonna read her sentence. I noted the abutters also spoke out against the project, but I did not see any evidence associated with their complaints. That's what I'm looking for, is I'm looking for credible complaints. All right, if you live way, way far away, is it just that you don't want it, or do you really think you're gonna hear it? We're trying to be fair here. Remember, zoning is a police power, okay? Whenever anybody restricts your property, that's a police power. And I would like to think that, you know, it might be one of you someday come in front of us and you want to add a garage, or you need an lower apartment, or maybe you want to run a business out of your house. And I would hope you realize you're going to get the same consideration that Mr. Kurt is getting. We take it very seriously, you know, so before we tell somebody, and it might be you someday, no, you can't do it, how would you feel? That's the first thing. Second thing is an above ground, I've looked into it extensively, an above ground storage tank is much safer. If it's underground and it leaks, when are you gonna find out? Could be years later, you could have significant contamination of the ground and the groundwater. So it's a much safer system. So I believe it was stated, I believe the question was asked and it was answered, do you hear his trucks coming in and out of his yard now? And I believe it was answered no.
The answer is yes to that. I said that 10 minutes ago, and I deserve that.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because I could have sworn that question was asked last month. So, you know, we have a lot of letters here, 3 or 4 or 5 support.
Those are the abutters. I don't have abutters that are against me. Those are my direct abutters.
And those are the direct abutters. So, you know, just telling you my thought process, I'm looking for credible complaints, you know, that are realistic, that I would think you would want to be judged if you wanted to do something on your property with realistic complaints. I've also gone up and down that road at different times of the day to say, okay, does this meet the character? Well, we have, 2 gas stations? Further on down the road, heading west, I see a big truck parked right along 106. I mean, that's right on the road. How does that get in and out of its property? Is anybody complaining about that truck? Or the trucks that come in and out of that property? That's on the other side too. So you have 2 gas stations on one side and this other property being used for a large, I guess it's excavating equipment on the other side. I don't see this as a huge change in that whole area. That's it, that's all I can say.
Mr. Chairman, if we,
Yeah, but it just-
It's 106, it's a state road. It's not a neighborhood. That's where I'm looking at this from. It's a busy road. When we went out to Mr. Curtin's property, we couldn't hear each other talk. So I don't think the noise is an issue. I don't think the look of it is affecting a neighborhood. It's a main road. It's a traffic road that was from Broccoli to Plymouth. That's what it serves. It's not some beautiful, pristine, cut-out neighborhood. So I don't think he's affecting the neighborhood, per se.
I said what I had to say.
Mr. Chairman, have we had any concerns from the police department or the fire department on this facility? Tell me the only.
It was the very first person I asked.
Go ahead, Mr. Gaynor.
Rick Gaynor, 17 Pembroke Way. I had 2 questions. First of all, the attorney came out and said that this was in an industrial zone. My question would be, if you're going to put restrictions on noise, are there decibel restrictions in the other industrial zones that are in town? Or are you going to single out this particular piece of property by putting noise restrictions on it and whatnot? And my second question is, Mr. Lazari was talking about complaints and whatnot. I believe there are 4 other residential homes on the on the west side of Cranberry Drive that are closer to a business that has, as you pointed out, a tractor trailer, diesel, backhoes, excavators, front end loaders. There's commercial trucks coming in and out. And Mr. Passari, I'm pretty sure that's a residential zone area. So here we are going to impose restrictions on someone who has by right having a business in the industrial zone, and yet on the other side, like Mr. Passari pointed out, where's the building inspector in the complaints on the other side of Cranberry Drive? When, I mean, like we've all seen it, there's a tractor trailer parked on the guardrail facing the wrong way on 106, and yet there are no complaints. There's no noise complaints. There's no diesel vapors. There's no air brake complaints. So I don't know if there's an industrial zone that I'd caution that you put restrictions on him that you wouldn't be able to put on other industrial zone areas in town.
I think the main concern is the hours of operation and like from 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning. That if you...
On the other end of Cranberry Drive.
Right.
In a residential zone.
Right.
Never mind an industrial zone.
Right.
But yet, there's been no complaints.
I think I would like to also just make the point that when they did the bylaws, what they put in there as allowed uses or special permit uses are all not seasonal like this. And so it wasn't their intention to keep it as a farm-looking community. One of the, if you ever lived next to an auto body where they were soldering and welding and using volatile chemicals and paint, I read that right out of the zoning bylaws. That's year-round, and that's it's hard to contain those vapors as hard as you try if you ever go to an auto body shop. There's a certain smell about it, even though they have all the controls in place. And so you have to consider that if the attorney says this is within these allowed by special permit uses, that this is the most benign of the ones that are listed here. He could be acting here tomorrow or 2 years from now or whenever to put in a gas station. And you're going to turn him down for that when there's one right down the street? That's I think that's what you have to consider. There's a lot that can be done to hide the tank. You'll paint it green, which is a standard color. Could put arborvitae's in front of it so that you can't, see it from the street. There's a number of things that he can do that are easy to do and very typical. And I just think you have to consider that, this is the least of the benign, or the most benign of what is allowed by special permit.
Any suggestions from the board?
I mean, I guess the two things I'd say is I agree with you. I think part of the issue that we have here is that it is a light industrial use in a business zone, which the neighborhood, the lot that we're talking about, the use that we're talking about is not an automatic grant. The bylaws want the zoning board to look at all those things and then make a decision if it's an appropriate lot use situation for that light industrial use. So I think you're right in what you're saying. I think that where the disagreement comes in is whether it's appropriate for that lot in that neighborhood and that use.
But it's already been...
Not for this use, it has not. It has not. There is not an above-ground tank of 50,000 gallons in there at all.
But it's operating as...
I guess so. And I guess the second piece, and this is to, I guess the people who have spoken to this, is that we have a letter from or an email from an abutter, or not an abutter, a person who spoke in our last meeting, who said if this was going to be proposed, and I think that the issues that I've heard a lot are sound and time. I think there's a lot of concerns about sound and time. And maybe the look of it, I think, is another piece of this. So what they suggested was, restricted hours, and then no idling on 106, 105, or Cranberry Drive, and then some sort of, you know, there could be a limitation of sound in there, I guess, by decibel, since he's mentioned decibels, and then, you know, some sort of visual, you know, arborvitae's or something like that. I guess the question is, if those were conditions, why would you still be opposed? They seem like they put a lot of thought into this. So I'm interested in hearing if those were, because we're in a position now where I think it's either something that's going to be passed with conditions, because I don't think anybody's not going to put conditions on it, or it's not going to pass. And I think that some people are in favor of it, some people are not. But I think I'm interested to hear if those, you know, visual, sound, and time were all pretty severe conditions on this, why that would still not be okay. It looks like this has an answer for me.
So we passed in a petition,
Yep.
right, that was signed, and there was more signatures after that as well. But it's the character, okay? It's the depreciation of the values of our homes, okay? We're there, okay? We're within that half mile. If there's a fuel spill, if something happens, they have to evacuate within a half mile. That's the law, okay? So it doesn't.
Not really. Not really.
We had the laws and we brought it up, and I actually.
Diesel fuel is not going to explode.
You don't, that's not true, Mr. Nesrela. You're not in that industry. Okay, my husband works for a power plant. It does, okay? It does. And they had problems at the power plant. So that is not true. And you're not an expert on it, and neither am I. But what I'm saying is that that's a concern to all of us, okay? It's a health concern for people. There's a lot of things. The smell, okay, when someone's pumping that, if someone's walking by or riding a bicycle, that's a nuisance.
What about if you're pumping gas at a gas station? You're going to get fumes.
Yeah, it's not the same. It's not the same. And one of the gentlemen that spoke brought in the facts in regards to the information. So I mean, there's a lot. It's not just we don't want him to build, okay? If he was building, you know, a different type of facility, or he was going into an industrial zone, we would not be opposed to this. It's not that we don't want business in our town, we do, okay? But we don't want this where it's being proposed as an above-the-ground site. It's going to be an eyesore, and it does not relate to the character of our neighborhood or this town. And I think that when someone says, his representative made a comment that, you know, this is what it says, that's an assumption of what someone was thinking. That's not a directive of this is what we said. So there's a difference. You can assume a lot.
What is the pleasure of the board? Put it in condition?
Well, I think we have to vote.
Any motion?
We've had a lot of discussion here. So I'll be the one that comes out. All right. I'm going to make a motion that we approve petition number 938 with the following restrictions. All fuel deliveries from this site will be done on company's own vehicles. You have to own the vehicles when you make a delivery. One of the concerns was that you're going to be selling fuel to everyone in the area.
Fuels for his own.
It's for your own use,
My own tank.
by your trucks. Second, no idling of vehicles on site from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Idling of vehicles on site from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning.
Idling vehicles, sure.
Idling vehicles,
Sure.
all right? Tanker deliveries will need to make a 1-hour call. Today's, I don't care about this. They show up when they want to. That just doesn't go with me. There's GPS, that everyone's got a cell phone. They have to call you an hour ahead of time so that you have someone on site to receive the delivery when they arrive. In and out, real quick.
So that's,
Whenever you get a fuel delivery.
so if I got fuel delivery at 1 a.m.
At 1 a.m., he's got to call you at midnight that you have to have someone on site. He's coming there, he's going to be there 1 a.m. You have the truck come in, he's fueled, and he's out. There's no reason why that can't happen.
Well, it can happen.
Yeah, okay.
I'm amazed that you said 1 a.m.
It's supposed to be 8 to 6.
It doesn't matter. Number 4, No delivery vehicles will be allowed to park, wait, idle on 105, 106 Cranberry Drive to enter the company's site. There should be no reason why, when a vehicle is coming, that they have to idle on Cranberry Drive, or park on Cranberry Drive, or park on 106, waiting to get into your facility.
We could put 400 on that.
This is what a restriction we're putting in here, so that everyone understands that no tankers are gonna be sitting idly on the highway.
That's right.
5, if the company changes ownership or partnership with another company, said company will come before the zoning board and commit to the restrictions that we have herewith stated. They have to agree to everything we're saying right now. There was a question, everyone was concerned that you would sell out and they wouldn't have these problems. They have to come to us.
I'm selling to my son, he's gonna transfer it to the process now.
That's fine.
Nothing's gonna change between him and me.
Yeah, as long as if he comes to the board, he's the new owner, he's just gotta say, I agree to everything that we're putting the restrictions
I
on.
agree to it right now.
Number 6, soundproofing of the pump. And if there's any other restrictions, anyone else that would like to add on the board?
You have extra soundproof and you want to plant arborvitaes in front of the tanks?
I'm gonna do that anyway.
What's that?
You can write it down, I'm gonna do it anyway.
No, you'll have to agree to that. If you don't, then
Yes, I agree.
you want to put arborvitaes in the front and
Yeah, so he's gonna have some kind of landscaping in front
you want the
to,
tank to be painted green.
I mean, you're in the neighborhood, so you don't want people driving by every day throwing stones or telling you your place looks like crap.
What's it look like now? Do you think it's gonna look any different?
Well, if you do some upgrades to what the facility looks like, whether it be green paint or you're putting the landscaping in, I mean, that's being a good neighbor.
Sure.
Anything else? Anybody?
The motion, any second? No, there's no more discussion.
I mean, there's no second, you should probably be a second.
I'll second. Mr. Chairman, who's voting on this?
Dan, Jerry, and Bob, and myself.
I second it.
What's your vote?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
No.
Myself, yes.
Is that a majority?
No, you didn't get no majority. It failed. Sorry. It failed 3-2.
I think you should probably also explain why who's voting, who's voting. Because I can.
Okay.
So I think, tell me if I'm incorrect, I think the reason that people voted, the members voted that they did was this originally was applied for in May prior to any new members. So all 5 of the people who were voting were here and present for all of the hearings as they went on. Correct?
Right.
So, explain. So in case anybody doesn't know how the zoning board works, which takes a while to figure out, to pass a special permit, you need to have a 4 out of 5 votes. So there were 3 yeses and 2 noes, so it didn't pass. So, what's next?
Who's next?
949.
Next petition, 949.
The Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, September 13th, 2021 at 7:15 PM at the Great Hall of the Halifax Town Hall on the application by Daniel Harding for a special permit and variances to construct an addition to an existing house located on 46 Paradise Lane, Halifax, Mass. 02338. Said property is owned by Daniel Harding and Nancy Trupp, shown on Assessor's Map 53, Lot 30, Title Reference Book 37828, page 92. The applicant is seeking a special permit to construct an addition to the existing house, which would constitute a continuation, alteration, and extension of a non-conforming use in accordance with the Town of Halifax zoning bylaws, Section 167AA, 8B, and 8C. It would also be in violation of the setback requirement set out in Section 16711, Table of Dimensional and Density Regulations, requiring a variance of the front setback from 50 feet to 38 feet and the left side setback from 30 feet to 26 feet. The area is zoned residential. It's petition number 949.
How you doing? What would you like to do?
What was that?
What would you like to do?
What would I like to do? I'd like to add an addition on my current house to accommodate my growing family. I'm asking to add a one-car garage on with a wood shop for myself. Not commercial wood shop, obviously. And I'm going to eliminate a bedroom and add an additional bedroom.
Do you have a candidate? Two-car garage. One-car garage.
This is existing. He's adding this and he's adding the second floor. This is existing too? Yeah.
So it's this one.
So you're gonna be taking the porch out?
I'm going to be removing the porch, absolutely. Porch is a big portion of that.
Three by.
They need a variance.
6, I don't know what this dimension is.
They need a variance for the side lot line. So you got 26 feet right
Yeah,
here.
so it's gone from 30 to, right?
Yep, 30 to 26 one. He's good on either side.
Should be 30. That's 26.
He's just asking for a special permit, right? Not a variance.
Yeah. But it's...
So one side is 42 point. No.
Too small, yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, we're just trying to figure all this stuff out.
Do you have any questions? Ask me, please.
So lot size is 16,000. Yeah.
So you're increasing the footprint of the house
Already.
with the addition, right?
Yes.
I'm
reducing the porch, wraparound porch.
Okay.
Taking that side off the porch off and adding onto it to connect the house.
Is the height of the addition higher than the current top of the house?
I'd have to look at it, but I believe it's
The same?
5, maybe less than 5 feet high. It's just where the roof lines come in. I didn't want a meeting right at the top. It's just a little bit above it. I think you can see the line. I wanted it to go into the side of the new addition, not.
Are they at two different angles or something? Is that why?
No, I kept it square as like it's possible to make it. Like gambrel style.
There's a living area above the garage?
There is only one bedroom, one garage.
There's the street over here, right?
Yeah.
So he's not going any closer to the street.
That's right. Yeah, he's not close to the street. He's in the same, this is the porch right here.
And there's currently no garage there now?
No garage, no.
He's close to
There's
the-
one thing that would be moving, like I said, the porch would be coming right off.
Yeah.
That's the porch.
And you said you're taking away one bedroom but adding one?
Maybe removing it because it won't have any windows or anything like that, because the new addition will be like,
Variance, right?
so it wouldn't be.
But the bedroom count would stay the same?
What's that?
The bedroom
I
count
mean,
would
I
stay the
guess the
same?
hardship is,
Bedroom count is staying the same, absolutely.
Just lot size.
yep. And that's it, sets it. The area is bigger than the current house, correct?
This is gonna be 43 by 33. These are hard, right?
Just kind of start down this road.
All right. What do you think?
Adding living room, garage, adding living room,
Front's
garage.
going forward?
What's that?
Front is going forward? No.
No.
Why is it saying that in here? 50 to 38.
I lined it up with the front of the house for
Yeah.
aesthetics. The current house right now is 38 feet from the property, you know, it's non-conforming.
Oh, I get it. Okay. Because so it's currently 30.
It's currently not conforming at all.
Because it's not, so the issue is, there's a couple issues. The first one is, and all of them sound heartlessly technical, I think, but so it's a non-conforming lot already, right? So,
Yes, the
right,
house that's
so-
on it right now.
right, so without a special permit, and arguably with a special permit, you can't, generally can't increase the non-conformity, right? So, am I saying this correctly? Feel free to jump in if I'm not saying
Yeah,
this
go ahead.
correctly. Anyone.
You're doing it.
Anyone. So the addition is it going to increase the non-conformity from the setback from the sideline line?
Right, it's aesthetics, so the house is set further back and has weird jogs and everything else. It's going to line up parallel with the current house.
Yeah.
To keep
so,
it
let me ask you
Yep.
a broadly defined question. Is the current dwelling damaged in any way?
No, it's a house we live in with 3 kids and
Because then a restoration, you could do 50% of it. Like, the issue is, I guess we can give a special permit for the alteration, because we've done that, right?
What was you denied for?
Is denied, so the denial letter has the continuation, alteration, extension of a non-conforming use that requires a special permit, and we've done that, we do that on Carver Street.
it's more of the setback, I believe, is
And you need the variance with the setbacks. The addition, arguably, if it's already a non-conforming use, you're not supposed to, that's why I asked about the height of the roof line.
it's completely, I mean, adjustable. I mean,
That's-
aesthetically, I didn't want it to
Right.
hit the top because I thought it would look.
None of these make a whole lot of sense when you're looking at a house.
Right, I mean, for the neighborhood, for
Yeah.
everybody around it, it
Yeah.
would have looked odd to dive it into the top of the new addition. I thought it would be more pleasing to hit it just a little bit below the
Yeah,
top.
and arguably, we could probably, if we're giving a special permit for these, we can probably give a special permit for the other ones.
I think so, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then the variances, we need to have some sort of hardship to be able to grant. So, and we're increasing the non-conformity. He actually was at 30 before, right? So you're not increasing the non-conformity on the front lot line, because that was already at 30.
It's only on the side lot.
It's only the size,
It's a
yeah.
side lot.
3 to 4 feet on the
Yeah.
side.
Right.
Increasing on the front, because right now he's 41, he's only 38.
Oh, 'cause it's angled toward the front lot line, is that what it is? Okay, so
Other than making my addition kind of angled and real funny looking.
yeah, right. That's the last thing you want. No, I get it.
Aesthetically pleasing
Yep.
option.
That's where we should be going for. So, I don't know. Did I say all those things correctly, Jeff?
You did.
Yep, you did.
And so to grant the variance, we need to establish some sort of hardship that you didn't create that already existed, which.
Which would be the size of the lot, 16,000.
Yep. Yep. Or a smaller addition. Or a small addition.
Want them on site?
I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
On site? Want to make a motion?
Oh yeah. So we always have like an on-site visit, and with this one we would come down usually the Saturday before our next meeting, which our next meeting is October, right? October 4th.
So it's pretty clear to see because the driveway actually goes to the actual where I'm going out to the
Okay.
sidewalk.
And that might help us understand.
Driveway right there,
Yeah.
two cars
Yeah.
wide driveway. So
Okay.
that's exactly where the new addition will be going.
Maybe some stakes.
Just stake it out where you want to put
Yeah.
the,
That's a huge help. Yep.
And there's a fence that is the side of it, and then the front of the driveway, the front corner of the driveway is.
A lot of times when we see a drawing,
Yeah.
when we go to a site, we really understand why you're doing what you're doing. You know,
Well, the
sometimes
reason
the
I'm doing
drawing,
what I'm doing is because I have 3 children, and it is.
we understand that.
It is a 2-bedroom
Yeah.
house, and it's getting a 10 by 10 room, it's
Yep.
getting a little cramped, so.
Yeah.
We get it.
We-
Trust me,
we
we
understand that
understand.
completely.
If we could just say yes, we'd say yes.
Yeah, so it's not like I just wanted to put, $1,000.
Nobody wants to say no to you. We want your kids to have room.
I think that's a hardship in itself.
I'm tired of the zoning board getting sued, so I'm trying to do this so you know.
We gotta go by the steps, we gotta go that
Yeah.
steps, you know? I'm fine with that, that's kind of what I have to do to stay in the town, and.
We want you to stay.
We want you to stay.
We want you to stay. We want your kids to stay. We're gonna work on this.
what do you want to make a motion to the on-site?
Yep. I'll make a motion to have an on-site visit on October, 2nd, probably,
I'll second it.
at 9 a.m.
Jan?
Yeah.
Oh. Peter?
Yes. Yes.
Jerry?
Yes.
Dan? You're not voting?
Yep. 9 a.m. Whatever you want.
9 a.m. on,
Does that work for you? We should ask first.
Yeah.
time.
9/8.
I'll make it work.
Okay.
Have you talked to any abutters?
Yes, I've talked to a few abutters. I wish I had it on the prints. I have a butter right next to me who has all the land next to me, so there's no house directly next to me at all.
That's to the left.
If you're facing my house to the left, yeah. And she's all for it. She's not gonna build there, can't build there. So, I mean, I believe one of my abutters is right over there. The rest of them seem to be fine with it.
You want to say something?
And I'm certainly in favor of Dan and Nancy increasing their house, and I agree that having 3 children, it's a hardship not to have this space. My only concern would be parking. They have 2, I can show you, oops, keep the right picture now. They have 2 very large vehicles that are currently on the property, and Dan, you perhaps, I'm sorry you don't have a picture of this, but it's, so one is a residential camping van and the other is your work van, right? So,
Which is also residential, it's not commercial.
Okay, but I mean 2 large vans that I don't think they would, I don't know if there would be room on the property for them.
So the actual addition doesn't affect the driveway in any means. The addition is back away from the driveway. So I'm not losing any driveway that I currently have. The driveway is the exact same. And as far as she had mentioned, I do have a motorhome there that is borrowed from my brother, which will be returned shortly. And the other vehicle is my personal vehicle. That's the one I drive to work, and that's how I make a living.
Yep.
So I'm not, I mean, my kid's 10, so yeah, in 8 years, he'll probably be driving. 6 years. There'll be another vehicle, but
He could be Ubering too, you never know.
My kid is 10. Nobody's Ubering. I don't want him driving. Let's just
so
start it.
as far as vehicles go, yes, I have 3. Me, my wife have 3 registered vehicles. I have a work van, and I have a vehicle to get the children and everybody else around. And my wife has her own vehicle. They're all registered, insured.
Will they be there when we come?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah, they'll be
that's all.
there.
So we'll see the whole thing when we get there.
Yeah.
Very
The
good.
only concern would be that vehicles can be parked on the property, because when it doesn't happen that way, this is the abutting property, the truck comes beside where we sit outside and have cookouts and stuff, so it's kind of like as you mentioned, like a white billboard reflecting the sun that changes the character of just a grass.
You can have that on-site inspection.
Yeah, and I can actually also explain that also, if you guys would like. So I park sometimes when we have family gatherings, birthdays, etc. I will park a vehicle over across the street on my next door neighbor's property, which she allows me to do. So I can make room in my driveway so other vehicles can park in there, because, you know, relatives don't like to be blocked in. So they'll park there, and that way nobody parks on the street, because when you go there to visit, it's maybe a car and a half wide. So if anybody parks in the street, nobody can really get by. So I make sure that I can make room for everybody else to park inside my thing. And as far as it goes, it probably leaves within 24 hours from that property back to my current property. I just park it over there so I can let people pull into my driveway and they don't have to drive across the street, maneuver and all that. So that's...
And I would just ask that that doesn't happen just because it is like a white billboard reflecting sunlight that changes the grassy knoll that is the only sitting area across the street.
I can give you fair warning if I'm having a vehicle, if I'm having a party. I'd like to put my vehicles over there so the guests can have my parking spaces in my house so they can easily leave. Then I retrieve the one vehicle back over, and if I don't park over there, they're going to park over there. I'm just trying to keep all the vehicles off the street, because if I park on the street, it's very hard for people to drive by.
So it's perhaps it would be that maybe the big vehicles that are, you know, high and wide and reflective of sunlight, that they stay on your property. And if you have overflow guests, If they park across the street, it's not as much of a...
Well, I think being a good neighbor, you can work that out.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
zoning board.
That's nothing to do with us. I think, that's just being neighborly, that's all.
Yeah, I'm happy to pass on that.
Move on to the next.
Yeah, you want a motion to continue?
So motion to continue.
I'll make a motion to
petition.
continue petition 949 until October 4th at, Alana, what do you think? 7:15? Yeah, so, I don't believe it. 7 o'clock.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Pass. All right. Now we move to
9:50, right?
9:50.
The Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, September 13th, 2021 at 7:30 in the Great Hall at Halifax Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. 02338 on the application by Thomas F. Smith Jr. for special permanent variances to construct an addition to an existing house with a second-floor in-law apartment to be located at 434 Thompson Street, Halifax, Mass. 02338. Said property is owned by Stephen T. Smith, as shown on Assessor's Map 79, Lot 2A, Title Reference Book 52352, page 296. The applicant is seeking a special permanent variances to construct a three-car attached garage addition and mudroom, 40 feet by 28 feet, with a second-floor in-law apartment above the garage. According to the Halifax zoning bylaw, section 167F4, no garage or barn shall have a ground floor area greater than 884 square feet unless authorized by a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals. In addition, the garage would require a variance to the left side setback from 30 feet to 26 feet, according to the Table of Dimensional and Density Regulations, section 16711. In-law apartments also require a special permit under Town of Halifax zoning bylaws, section 167-7D12, and a variance of section 167-7D12F. The size of the in-law shall not be larger than 50% of the first floor living space of the main residence or 900 square feet. Area is zoned residential. Petition number 950.
You want to tell us what you want to do, sir?
Well, my name is Thomas Smith. I live at 434 Thompson Street with my wife Carol, our son Steve, and our granddaughter Dakota. Presented tonight on behalf of my son Steve, the property owner. I'd just like to say thank you to the board and all interested parties for hearing our appeal this evening. We're here before you tonight seeking a special permit and necessary variances to build a three-car, three-vehicle garage with an in-law apartment above it, which would attach to our existing home through a new mudroom. My wife Carol and I relocated from Plymouth almost a year ago now and moved in with our son Steve to help care for our 6-year-old granddaughter Dakota. Steve has shared custody of Dakota, but Dakota is definitely a daddy's girl and is attached to his hip most of the time. Steve is a self-employed contractor in town and works in unpredictable hours. For him to maintain and build his successful business, he needs a flexible schedule for on-site meetings, proposals, and inspections, snow plowing, and emergency service calls. Carol and I are currently living in a guest bedroom that was previously Steve's home office on the main living floor. To accommodate us, Steve set up a temporary office in the basement. My wife is employed as an accountant in a Hingham-based company, and with our new world is working remotely from home 3 days a week now. Her office is currently set up in Steve's dining room. I'm a retired retail property manager and now provide consulting services. I also help Steve with picking up supplies and materials and running permits, etc. for his business. My setup is in the kitchen. While we're a close family and we enjoy being together, this setup is simply too close and not sustainable. We need our own area to retreat to, and we also need to give Steve back his office, dining room, and kitchen, as well as some much-needed privacy. The proposed in-law apartment would fill this need and allow us to be there to help Steve and Dakota as needed without being too intrusive. The door that we most often use is on the driveway side of the house. As you enter, you're into a narrow hallway that runs past the half bedroom, half bathroom, and the dining room. And this is currently where you're removing boots and coats and hats and such. The proposed mudroom would really provide a much-needed area to enter the home and remove muddy boots and snow and things of that nature and hang up your coat, protect the hardwood floors. The proposed three-vehicle garage is oversized, and it's oversized to accommodate our vehicles. Steve and I both drive four-door, longer wheelbase pickup trucks that are also used for our small business purposes. As you can see on this exhibit, want to hand those up there? So I knew this was going to be an issue. I have handouts. As you can see on the scaled exhibit, it's still going to be a little tight.
Thank you.
The plan would be to give us the space that's in front of the smaller SUV for a workshop area. Storage areas would also be around, organized and around the perimeter of the walls of the garage. And upstairs. There's also some photographs of existing conditions. The side of the driveway is where the garage and in-law apartment would be. So as you can see on the site plan, our lot measures just over 60,000 square feet. It's much deeper than it is wide. The maximum allowable building to land ratio is 25%. Our current home is right now, it's 2.5%. If you factor in the proposed addition, you would still be under 5%. The addition will be built to look like original construction. It's our intention to believe that the addition would complement the neighborhood and not degrade it in any way. And we have a full packet of blueprints that show the proposed addition of the mudroom.
The in-law would be the second floor of the garage, above the garage,
We would be residing up there, yes.
the entire area.
Yes. Yeah.
There's also an addition between the garage and the house, a little pie shape.
Little mudroom. You come in, run off of that, use upstairs.
There's no second floor on that, there's no second floor on that portion,
Use upstairs, there's a storage into the closet.
but no livable area.
No. Plans show that there's, when you come into the house through the new mudroom, the right-hand side, you go into the house, off that door there. Here, you go up to the in-law apartment, proposed in-law apartment.
So what do
We'd
you
like to have the door there just for temperature control, but we don't have to if that becomes an issue.
What do you have for shared living area?
Well, you need a shared living area.
Would be the mudroom, 243 feet, and then off of that's the dining room.
So you'd be sharing the dining room?
Yes.
The dining room is open to the mudroom?
Well, through the opening, yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
just walk right into it, yeah. There wouldn't be a door there.
Same utilities,
Yes.
electric, water.
On that side of the house is where the sanitary line runs out. That's where the electricity comes into it as well. The domestic water line's on the other side of the house, but that would come through the cellar and feed us on the other side of the house. And then we were talking about doing a mini split system with propane
Yeah.
to heat the second floor. Mudroom would be fired off the forced hot water oil system that's currently in the house.
So the living room and the mudroom are gonna be shared?
The dining room.
The dining room.
Mudroom is also, but I don't think you can technically say it's shared. But the dining room, if they share it.
And there's an opening from the dining room to the main house?
Yes.
And that can't be closed?
There's no.
You can't petition it and say, well, you know, it has to be open all the time.
Yes. When you come into the mudroom, you turn right, you go right into the hallway, into the dining room right there, and the bathroom right there, it's no doors.
What's the current first floor living space of the main residence, do you know? That exists?
1490.
Okay.
First floor?
1490, yes.
And what's the addition?
It's 11, yeah. So the garage and the in-law apartments are the same square feet, right on top of each other?
Yes,
But the-
actually, upstairs is a little bit less because of the gable ends. Takes away living space.
And, but the mudroom, so if the dining, and
dining
tell me if I'm right, so the dining room is the shared living space, and the mudroom is technically part of the in-law, right?
That's the way the bylaw reads, yes.
Yeah. 'Cause the-
For use, for square footage of accommodation.
That's where you enter the house, through the mudroom.
The new entrance would be,
That's the entrance for the both apartment, for the apartment and the
Yeah, I
main
guess
house.
yes, you
Yeah.
come into the mudroom, turn right to go into the main house,
Yeah.
no door,
Right,
turn left to go into the garage,
right.
and we'll go right upstairs to the room above. In-law.
And your main entrance is on the main house, is still on the front of the house.
Yes.
And you're sharing the dining room and...
Which is on the first
mudroom,
floor?
yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
should have done
Yeah.
it. Once my wife removes all of her computer monitors
They're blaming you.
and files.
I'm the one that's still works.
Easy now.
I just say it.
No, you're by the power lines?
I know, I'm trying to do
Are
something.
you by the power lines? On-
No, we're 434 is right after Pine Street comes in,
Yep,
and then the
Or
power
other
lines are down there,
Yep.
Thompson's Memorial, right? So
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
we're across from, that's,
what's
So all of your issues are one thing, I think, from my perspective. Like I was looking through all this stuff, all of it. So if your building was a little bit smaller, you wouldn't be able to fit the 3 cars, but you would be within the 700 and whatever square feet you would need to have 50% of the first floor living space. You probably wouldn't meet a variance from the side setback. And your garage probably would at least be a little closer to the 884 and if not over the 884 square feet. If you had done all that, you wouldn't even be here. You'd be able to just build it, I think. And so I guess
well, we still need a special permit for the in-law.
correct, yeah, which would be a lot easier to grant. So technically, like a non-negotiable of in-law apartments is that they're no larger than, and they wrote it in the denial letter, but they're no larger than 50% of the first floor living space or 900 square feet. And whichever is greater, so it would be 900 square feet, but this is over that. If it was smaller, I think if the addition was smaller, you wouldn't have that issue at all for us. And if the addition was smaller, you probably wouldn't need the 4 feet off the side lot line, and you probably wouldn't need to vary the garage or a special permit for the garage size. So I guess for us to approve that variance and 2 special permits, the variance is harder than the special permit. We'd have to see some sort of hardship that because of the land or because of some other situation that was not created by you to be able to approve that. And so I guess and I'm looking at and it may not, again, we could keep running into the same thing. So if it was smaller, you probably wouldn't have those issues. It would be a little, the variance is the tougher one of the 3, right? So variances, special permits, you have to just prove it's not a derogation of the bylaw and that it's within the established character of the neighborhood, which I think is probably easier for us to get to. Tell me if I'm saying something wrong.
No, you're right on, right on.
But for the variance, state precedent, state law requires that to vary a zoning bylaw has to have some sort of hardship that is either unreasonably financial because of the layout of the land or because of topography of the land or something like that. And I guess looking at this, I mean, you have like an acre and a half, it looks like. You could put that somewhere else on the lot and meet the side setback, or make the addition smaller and meet the side setback. So like I'd
respond back by saying that the hardship is really the lot configuration where the existing dwelling is justified too far. If you're looking at it from straight to the left, so if the existing dwelling was over 4 feet, we'd meet the side setback with no problem. We'd be at the 30-foot setback instead of 26. Currently, our side setback on the right side is 37, over 37 feet.
I mean,
So really, the lot configuration is one of our main issues because it's so narrow and deep. And we're certainly, we're way under the 5% density regulation. That's, we have 25%. We're still under 5% with the addition. Just trying to, realize the land.
And I guess what I would come back with, which we find ourselves in this position a lot. I guess what I come back with is if you wanted to build 10 more feet of that garage, wouldn't that be the same situation? Like you could, so I guess so you could build the in-law apartment and the garage and the addition within the side setback if it wasn't as big. If it was 4 feet
Well, I
smaller.
wouldn't build it. It's a $300,000 project. We're not going to build a garage like a custom for. And I wouldn't have anything to put in the garage except my wife's garage.
But I guess, and I'm not saying this because I'm enjoying saying this. It's very uncomfortable for me to say this. But I guess in that case, isn't the hardship the fact that you have 3 vehicles to garage?
So the hardship is being created by you guys. If you do it a little smaller, then you wouldn't need a variance.
If I did it with smaller trucks, wouldn't fit.
And I guess the other argument is you could build, the other piece is you could build that same addition further back on the lot. And you could build and not have to meet the variance. Like if it wouldn't meet the front of the house, it wouldn't look as good. I mean, there's the fact that you haven't covered, you're only covering a small portion of the lot, which you brought up. I don't know if that helps. I think that might hinder because you could put that somewhere else on the lot and meet the variances.
As you go deeper on that left-hand side, the grade goes up. And that would require a lot of material to be moved. And then you're getting further away from the main house. I'm not sure if the curb appeal.
I'm with you. Yep.
That might look funky. As opposed to if you look at the front elevation, the plans right now make it look really classic. It's nice.
Trust me, I'm not we don't vote on these if we want them. If that was the case, then I would just say, yeah, we could, like, you shouldn't have to be here. But the issue is that we have pretty immovable rules when it comes to these setbacks.
The variances are what's really causing
special
problems.
permits, you know. I might feel free to
No,
jump in.
you're right on.
If you want to, you want to reconfigure the design of what you want to do and make it longer, or, to sit on that lot without asking for a variance.
Can you configure it differently, like a 2-car in the front and then like the third bay in the back, around from the side? It might fit without requiring that variance.
Or even shrink the mudroom a little bit, or move the stairs into this big walk-in closet. Then you're just shrinking it that 4 feet, and then you're not over the line.
Is it the size, or is it the fact that we're going over the 30 feet?
The biggest issue.
It's both.
The
Yeah,
variance.
so the biggest issue I think you have is getting the variance for the 4 feet.
Okay.
Because I think that, and I can't speak for the rest of the board, but for me, the special permit for going over the garage, I mean, the in-law above 50% of the first floor living area that's something we can't give a special permit for. So that's a big issue, but I think at that point it's 900 feet. So if you had altered it slightly, I think you meet it. I think you're at 1100 or something like that. If I did the math.
Yeah, we'd be closer.
Depends if you throw the mud on it.
That's what I'm
Well,
saying.
because it's got to go down to where the shared
Kind of
space is. So if the shared space is somewhere else, that might change it too.
Was the factor on the size of the mudroom?
Right, but I think if you kind of push that into your master here a little bit,
Yeah, but you're pushing it in the garage.
you're pushing the stair into where the shoulders guard up. Just go up here. She can guard there anyway. And you're shrinking this. So it's over here.
just doing a 3-car garage. You just done it at 1,200 square feet.
Right there.
Right, what I'm saying is if you
Isn't it
squeeze
1,200
this
square feet?
down the stairs.
884.
Oh, we can use that?
884 is the
You're shrinking the mudroom.
Yeah, everything's over. Yeah.
Could be done.
We did, with the architect, I did shrink the mudroom. The other rendition that was pushed back was there was no angle on the mudroom. It was straight, and we went way over the setback on the rear corner of the garage. So in an effort to pull that corner
Oh, I
back
see,
around
yeah.
and put on the angle,
Yeah.
shrunk the size of the mudroom just to accommodate the stairs
Yeah.
going up into
In the back there. Yeah.
so we didn't lose that day of the garage with stairs. So I'm not quite sure if I can do that. I'm not the architect is Aaron McClellan from Situate.
'Cause, I mean,
We had like 2 or 3 goes with him.
The issue that the reason we're not just saying yes and passing it is because if someone challenged that, they could bring you into land court and win, and they could tell you to rip it down if it's, you know what I mean, especially if we brought all this stuff up in a meeting and that's, I guess, unusual, but it's not unusual to have legal challenges and stuff like this. So
If you can figure the whole thing the way you want it without applying for the variance, it's a lot easier.
So it's just the variance of the side setback, not the variance in size, is that special permit?
the variance, so you have, so the two big things, I think, the garage is something I would say in the past, although precedent doesn't really carry over, each petition stands on its own merit. I want to make sure I'm saying that. But I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for us to approve a special permit for a garage that's over 900 feet. It's happened before. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to approve an in-law apartment that's designed like this, because I think you've met all the criteria for in-laws. I think the two things that are the big sticking points are, then he mentions it in there, that 167 D12F, that's the in-law can't be larger than 50% of the first floor living space or 900 feet. So the 900 is the cap.
Yep.
And then that 4 feet on the left-hand side, on the side setback.
So I have to be within the side setback, I have to shrink the upstairs.
Yeah.
Have some closet space.
Anyway.
Storage
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah, and I guess, and I'm not great at looking at these things, obviously, and I haven't spent a ton of time looking at the plans. I guess the question, so if the dining room that's existing is your shared living space, right?
Yes.
If there is a way to create oh, that's gonna count too, but if you could create shared living space up in that in-law, that might move your shared living space. Does this make sense? So like so all of the space that's the mudroom and the dining room is technically part of the in-law because it's shared living space. But if that shared living space was upstairs, if you had an open entry, it would probably be preferable to the special permit because then it's harder to make it into an income-producing apartment.
Yeah.
But if the shared living space was up at the top of the stairs and you had some sort of 6-foot opening that was super wide and which isn't required, but if you had that that makes that part of their shared living space, and then you had it separated off from somewhere else, that would take the mudroom completely out of it. You might be inside of the 900 square
So
feet.
when you go up the stairs, you turn left, you go into the in-law. If you go turn right now there's a door there, and that's proposed storage. If I open that up, and
Whatever gets it down to, I don't know the square footage of it, and that's going to be the key. It's not how it's laid out necessarily, but if what you have as part of the in-law is 900 square feet or under, you're good. And the side setback,
Just eliminate the variance.
Yeah. And then I think this is a project we want to approve in town. Like it makes, you guys are doing something nice for your property, which I think is what we want. Does that make sense?
I redrew it upstairs when I was talking about it.
I can't see those numbers. This is the in-law apartment. What is the width here?
So, like, I redrew this.
That's the garage. What is this
Just
one
pushing it
here?
over
This,
a couple
this,
feet.
the in-law apartment is smaller.
If I thought maybe I should bring that over. So up into the same space. And obviously, you can look back to that kind of.
So what are you looking at? I want this kid right here. I want this length and this
I
length.
feel like it's solving a few problems just by moving the stairs.
good feedback. I appreciate it.
So this number right
Yeah,
here.
and the key again is really
28.
however you want to do it. You guys, it's your place as long as it just meets that 900
Should be this
square
number
feet
here.
or under. I think
900
that's.
under and no setback.
Yep. And then I think, for me, I don't have an issue.
It's 40?
Do we want to continue?
Do we want to
Yeah.
continue?
Do you want? Yeah. I would assume you want to take a
Make a
look
motion
at
to
it.
continue?
You can withdraw or we continue it?
You want to come back with,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to have it redrawn with no variance. And if you want to continue the meeting for next month?
You sure?
With the new plans?
No, but if you look at the,
What's that?
We have to use what I've conditioned for.
look at
So it's not an
Here's the
increase
garage.
in what they're asking,
this space is in here.
right?
It's in here. You know what I mean?
So as
it's a
long
little
as
bit
what you're
smaller.
asking for, you're not increasing,
If it's
and you're not asking for something you didn't have in your original petition, I think we're good, because then we're just voting no on certain things, and we're voting yes on other things. So as long as
I know it, yeah.
That's definitely forward.
in effect, if you're changing what you're doing,
I think a continuation with a revised plan.
yeah, I think we'll probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody want to make a motion for the continuation of the revised plan?
I'll make a motion for petition 950, to our next meeting, October 4th, with a revised plan. 7 what? 7:15?
Second?
All in favor?
Yes, I, yep.
All right.
Yes.
All in favor? All right,
Just a
we'll
quick
see you
question
next
for
month.
you. The apartment is a little bit smaller than the garage, I believe.
What?
The apartment, the in-law apartment is a little bit smaller in size than the garage.
Yes, because of the gable ends.
It's gable ends?
We
All
lose
right.
that space so they in the wall.
Yeah, I can't read the dimension on it, but just looking at the visual, the front layout, it looks like it's probably about 2 feet shorter or 3 feet shorter on each side. All right, so that's a help, because that brings it down from what we're figuring right now, because the garage is about 1120. So if you're up above that, so you're probably down to maybe 1,000 something, so that storage area might be enough to really bring you right into play.
Right.
Sorry.
And do I have to submit it to Ariana or bring it to the next meeting?
No, it's not that long.
Yeah, and if you submit it to her, she'll have copies for us and everything like that, so. Thank you.
I appreciate your time.
roofs and
Yep.
sheds and decks and happiness.
Next petition is 952.
Okay, hold on. Let me.
A dog can
Oh, God. Okay, where's my... Here we go, 952.
Yep.
The Halifax Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Monday, September 13th, 2021 at 7:45 in the Great Hall at Halifax Town Hall, 499 Plymouth Street, Halifax, Mass. 02338 on the application by Bonnie Feistel and Patricia Kahn for a special permit for a commercial kennel license to be located at 16 Old Farm Road, Halifax, Mass. 02338. Said property is owned by Gary Mahler as shown on Assessor's Map 14, Lot 9P, Title Reference Book 41420, page 91. The applicant is seeking a special permit for a commercial kennel license to continue breeding AKC purebred golden retrievers in accordance with the Halifax zoning bylaws, section 167.7C, table use regulations. The entire yard will be fenced in with a fenced-in padlock area. The area is zoned residential. Petition number 952.
Good evening. You want to speak to your petition?
Thank you for hearing us. So we're looking for a special permit. We have two golden retrievers that we show, we do agility with, we do obedience with, we compete with, and what we're looking for is we're looking to keep them there in a paddocked area. They're not, the only time they're ever unleashed is when they're in a confined area. We're looking to have 1 or 2 breedings a year. We're not looking for a business. We want to just be able to have our dog. We want to be able to keep our pedigree alive and keep it going, keep our lines going. So we're not looking to do this as a business to profit off of our dogs. We're not looking for grooming. We're not looking for cloning. We're just looking to have a place to keep our dogs.
How many dogs, how many
How many do we have?
do you have now?
We have 14 dogs.
14?
14 golden retrievers, yep.
14 golden retrievers. And how many are you planning on breeding? How many are you planning on breeding?
Well, some of them are past, some of them are senior, some of them are past the age of breeding, which we are our pets. We also still compete with them. We're only looking to do 1 or 2 breedings a year. We're not looking to do a lot. But because of the bylaws, it says that we need a commercial license to do that. We have a hobby license in Bridgewater. Bridgewater allows us to do 1 to 2 breedings a year with the hobby license.
Now, these 14 dogs are on the property right now?
Yes, they're in Bridgewater, yes. So we're contingent on buying this property.
How many acres is this property?
Excuse me?
How many acres is this property?
10 acres.
10 acres?
Yes. So what we're going to do is we're looking for a privacy fence on the, if you're looking at the property on the right, there's another dwelling there, and then off to the left, it's all wooded area, and that's where we're looking to put the paddock area for the dogs.
I have been a breeder for almost 3 decades now, and I've been competing as well. My dogs have won all kinds of competitions as well as the breed at Westminster Kennel Club. So we're a whole different caliber of breeders. We're not just a backyard breeder. Like I said, and I'm very respected in the golden retriever world. If you look on any of the golden retriever forums, we are in the top 5 for referrals. We also, as she said, we compete with our dogs, and they're our kids. Our dogs are not kenneled outside all day. They're not out there to bark all day. My dogs barely bark at all. So there is no noise factor. We have people that come to our house and they have no idea how many dogs we have because they don't make a lot of noise. They're golden retrievers. They're not hounds that howl and bark all day. They're not fully breeds that anybody has to worry about, their kids getting bit or anything else. They're a family dog. We also do pet therapy, so we give back to the community. We've gone to several times to Bridgewater State College when the kids had finals. I also have a program that I started at the Plymouth Library with one of my dogs, Legend, and he goes there once a month, and the kids read to him. I mean, they lay all over him, they pull his ears, they pull his tail. I mean, they hug him. If you look at some of the pictures that are in the booklets that we gave you, the temperament on my dogs are just unbelievable. We've heard that people are worried about traffic. There is no traffic. We're not a boarding kennel. The only people that come to us are our friends, or we have family that come to visit. It's normal. It's not like we have people that are coming every day to drop off dogs and then come pick them up later on or drop off for grooming. We're not a business. So there is no additional traffic other than Pat and I going to work every day, or we go to training. We train in the Cape, we train in New Hampshire, we train in Vermont, we train down in Connecticut. That would be the traffic, would be us going and coming to our own house. And then we also heard that there was a neighbor that was worried about that she had allergies to dogs. Well, I totally sympathize with that. I have very acute asthma, but I am not allergic to my dogs. And they would be in our house, in our confined area, and she wouldn't have to worry about that other than when we walk them, which we do every day. And then, I mean, that would be like somebody getting COVID in their house. How is that going to affect me in my house? I'm not going into their house to get it. So she's not coming into my house to be allergic to my dogs. I mean, I totally can sympathize, but that doesn't make any sense to me.
See, in the past, we've had a bad experience with kennels in this town.
And I totally understand
And it was a disaster.
That's not us. I've been doing this for so long. I've had a kennel in Carver, and now I have a kennel in Bridgewater. And I've never had any complaints, I've never had any trouble. We follow the guidelines of the ethics for the Golden Retriever Club of America. I mean, we have to follow those rules. If we don't, then I'll get kicked out of the Golden Retriever world. And that's my life. That's what I live for.
Now, you got 14 dogs, and you want 2 litters a year, yes?
Yes.
How many puppies do you get at a time?
It could be 2, it could be 10. I mean,
So you got 20 and 14, that's 34 dogs at a
I'm not
time.
keeping them. I'm not keeping them.
So
I place them.
so you're doing a business.
It's not a business.
What are you gonna do with the dogs?
I sell them.
You have to sell them,
But I
right?
invest the money back into my dogs so that I can pay for my entry fees, and I can pay for my competitions, and I can buy dog food, and I can buy clean tick, and I can buy a
That's considered a business, right?
It's a hobby. It's considered a hobby because I have friends of mine that have over 10 litters a year, and yes, that is a business.
Yes.
But that's not what I want. That's not my interest at all.
Any members of the board?
How many, did you say how many
You got
average?
14 now.
It's 14 currently.
Right.
2 litters a year averaging, what's an average litter?
7, 8?
But we might not have 2 litters a year. We might only.
How many dogs you have?
Let's assume that you're gonna have 2 litters a year. So we're gonna assume that. You can't say
7
you're
or
not
8,
going
you
to, but
said?
we're gonna assume that.
7 or 8 dogs, you said?
How many dogs do we have?
No,
In a litter.
in a litter.
I don't,
An average, say an average. It's here or there. Sometimes you get 2, sometimes you get 4, sometimes you get
On an average, if you take an average,
of 7.
7?
and the idea is that you would then sell those 14 or 2 litters of 7. Okay, so they'd be on the property, but you normally don't sell them for a couple months, I would assume, right?
8 weeks.
8 weeks.
So 2 months, so,
I mean, like I said, there's no additional traffic or anything. I mean, it's, nobody would even know that they were there. I mean, that's the thing. I mean,
Whether they're there or not, they are there. They are there.
and that's why we're here,
and
to do the right thing.
You're using those dogs to, let's say, for your hobby, to buy dog food, to do your other stuff. It's considered a business. To us, to me, it's considered a business. I don't know about anybody else.
yeah. So how much would an average, like, how much would you be asking someone to purchase one of these dogs?
It's like 1,500.
Mr. Chairman?
14 times 1,500? That was 38,000 or something like that. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't.
No.
I didn't know you were doing math. I didn't know you were doing math.
Takes a little while.
Do you have any plans drawn? What the kennels are gonna look like? Do you have a layout?
It said, I did put it in that there was a,
I see the plot of it there.
yeah, there's another one that I sent you in the package that had, where we were fencing around the lawn area and to the left of that area.
Why don't I see it?
Let's see. So specifically, the building inspector mentions or you mention in your application, the 167.7C. In that, there's two pieces that talk about home businesses. There's one, a customary home occupation conducted and used by the resident of the premises, which might be you. There's also the M167.711, which is a home business conducted by a resident of the premises. To be honest, I mean, that is in a business industrial district. So it sounds to me like 167.7D5 would apply, just because you're in looks like an agricultural residential zone. So there are restrictions on that. So I'm just going to go through them and ask you, will there be employees on the premises that are not residents?
No.
What is the square footage that you plan on using for the litters that you have and for the dogs that you have on the premises?
For the litter, it would just be a litter. I mean, it's,
Where are you gonna house the dogs? What's the area? What is the square
Is
footage?
there an area outside that you're going to use? Are you going to, like, so, I mean, we're talking arguably 28 dogs. Are they inside the house all the time?
puppies will be growing at 8 weeks old, so they are confined. They don't go outside or anything like
Do you have a special room that you keep them in
Yeah.
to keep them warm? How big is that room? That's what we're trying to figure out.
10 by 12.
10 by 12. That's for the puppies when they're...
just for the puppies.
No,
And then the other 14 dogs? Where do you keep them? They just don't roam the house. You must have a...
Right, so in the basement, there's the kenneling area. And in the family room, there would be an area where there would be a couple of crates, and then we have other ones in the house, to go in the house.
And what would that be, under 400 square feet? I don't know
20 by
if it would
20?
be.
Yeah, the house is on the floor. So it would be, I don't know how many square.
I don't know. I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
In the house, it's not like they're gonna be just,
So I guess this is what the issue is if it's, and this is only one of the, it's A through G and I'm on B, but the question, I guess, is if the dogs are a business, which is arguably $21,000 in income is a small business, right? If there's a certain area that you're dedicating to housing and kennel and whatever else, that would have to be under 400 square feet. And I don't know if that's a possible thing. I don't know anything at all. That's why I'm asking. So I'm asking if the area you would need to keep those dogs for 2 months and then another 2 months, so 4 months out of the year would be under 400 square feet. Is that something that you would?
Yeah.
Okay. Would there be equipment or product displays visible from the street?
No.
Would there be increased traffic, truck deliveries, or pickups to the premises? Would there be any, no, I feel like I've seen this before. Deleterious effects on the neighborhood in terms of noise, vibration, glare, fumes, electrical disturbance, or other emissions?
No.
Are there signs for the business?
No.
Would there be any evidence from the exterior of the premises that there is a business being conducted with it?
No.
Okay.
Question for you, in your present location, have you had any complaints from any neighbors, the police, anyone at all?
No, we have not. We
No complaints at all?
We live on a cul-de-sac, just like Old Farm Road.
And then in your booklet, there are letters of referrals from our neighbors, from people that have had puppies from us, from the people from the library.
Now, you said the dogs that you have in the basement, are they in cages or they're just,
So they have open area, and we also have 6x4 kennels set up for them.
so let's say dog A, dog B, dog C, they all sleep in different, or they sleep all together?
They prefer to be two in a kennel. I set it up so that there was one in a kennel, but they go two in a kennel. That's how they prefer it.
And how do you get rid of the waste?
So we have a company that comes. So there's two different systems. There's a type that is like a septic type, but we also have cross-guard poop removal coming in. We scoop, put it in a container, they remove it. And we also have a smaller system, which is like a septic system, which is more organic, from Doggy Doody disposal system.
What does that mean?
We're very, because the last kennel we had, everything was great until it wasn't. And when it wasn't, every neighbor in the whole section come down pretty heavy. And they all try to be good neighbors, but they had enough. So we're really questioning this here because we don't want to have a repeat of that. And, everybody was fine, but then all of a sudden it wasn't fine.
Is there an existing house on this lot? Are you buying a house or are you buying land and building?
We're buying a house.
There's a house existing now.
Yeah.
So just square me away here. Are there outside kennels where the dogs are staying, or are all the dogs in the house?
So when we're home, they'll be out in the paddock area, and we have dog rooms and shelter for them. When we're not home, they're in, or they may be in when we're home too. It depends on, what's going on. They're not left unattended outside without one of us being home. They have kennels inside.
But you're gonna have kennels outside?
Well, paddock area outside.
We don't have.
No shelter for them?
Yes, we do have shelters.
We don't have individual kennel-ing or kennel runs, because they all get along. So they all just go out and...
That's why I'm looking for something I don't see unless someone does. I'm looking for something drawn.
Yeah.
Something on a plan is what I'm looking for, to get a visual of what this is gonna be.
You're asking for a kennel, right?
We're asking
For a kennel license.
Commercial.
Okay.
They're asking for a commercial kennel license. Or special permit.
But I think we need to have some plans. You have an existing house you're going to buy. I know you may have a little problem getting a drawing of that house, but I think we need that, and we need to know exactly what you're going to build there.
But the one that I submitted with the package, I did have.
We don't have that in here.
And you have a drawing where they're going to be housed?
You have one you can
Everything is all laid out? Yeah.
We really need that.
We need that there, and I think, I don't know if we can have a site visit, but I'd love to see the location, because
you know, you say the neighbors aren't that far, but we went through this before, and they're pretty loud.
Hold on a second, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Hold on. We'll get to you guys. We'll get to you.
Something.
You said something.
You
It's
first,
always
sir.
me.
What would you like to
My
say?
name is Mark Harvey. I live at 18 Oak Farm Road, which is right next to 16. So the lots there, it's deceiving. 10 acres, most of it wooded where they're purchasing. Most of the cleared land is a very narrow strip that runs directly right next to mine. Their house is set back so that their backyard, I assume where they would have these 20-plus dogs at any time, is lined up right with my backyard, my pool, everything that I live for, right? My comfort when I come home. So I have some concerns, and actually the ordinance or whatever you read off with all the requirements, that I just have to question some of the answers. First, 400 square feet's nothing for 20-plus dogs. Then I would question the care of the dogs. But the next thing that I would talk about would be the smell. 14 dogs take a lot of crap. And so, you know, I appreciate that. Look, we all have pets, and I pick up after my dog, and you know, if you have 2 or 3 dogs, I got that part. But 14? And so the other thing, I gave you contact. The other thing that I'm concerned about is noise. Because every time I walk out to my pool now with my dog, I gotta listen to 14 dogs or 20, however many I happen to be in breeding season, start barking every time I hit my backyard. Because if you do a site visit, and I hope you do, you'll see how close we really are. I mean, we do our best for privacy because there's a fence, but we're close. We're less than, I would say, less than 100 yards when you start measuring the lot line. So the other thing that I'm concerned about is traffic. So while I appreciate that they say there's no additional traffic, my concern is vendors bringing in dog food. 14 dogs eat a lot of food. They have suppliers. They want to sell collars. They show dogs. People are going to want to come to see them. They're going to get puppies. I selected that house where I live on purpose. I selected it because it was at the end of Oak Farm Road. I selected it because I knew there'd be less traffic, that it was a very residential area, you know, with just families there. And so it's real personal for me because my whole life is wrapped up right now in that house. And so I implore the board to deny this special permit. And that's what I want to say.
Okay. You in the back?
Yeah, Ken Soroka, 15 Old Farm Road, and I chose Old Farm because I built my house there over 21 years ago because it was quiet. And like Mark said, there will be increased traffic, and they want to build this outside kennel area. There's a lot of wetlands there, so I don't know how much room they have to put a kennel in the back. They have a lot of acreage, but it goes, like you said, straight out in the woods, and there's tons of it is wetland. And we don't want to hear dogs. That's why we're there.
Go ahead.
My name's Gary Muller. I'm the current owner of 16 Old Farm Road. I'm the one selling the property to Pat and Bonnie, and I have a picture of the location where the paddock would go. I can share it with you if you'd like.
Sure, bring it up.
It'll show that you can't see another house, you can't even see the street from the area where the paddock will go. It's set 100 yards back from the street. That's the cul-de-sac out there. This is the area. The house that Mr. Carmody is talking about is over here, not even in sight and not even visible.
So you usually chuck it back here?
Correct, over on that corner. So I can share, that's the site where the paddock. And if it helps at all, I've lived at the property for 10 years, and one of the reasons we're moving is because it was too secluded. You can't see cars drive by, you can't see any neighbors, you can't hear neighbors. We have neighbors on multiple sides that have dogs, we've never heard them bark. There's a lot of power equipment used in the neighborhood, we don't hear any power equipment at all. And we are actually moving out of the neighborhood because we have young kids and we want to be part of a community, and this area is too secluded for us. So when we were looking to sell our house, We wanted to find someone that could use the space, use the privacy, and take advantage of the way I was intended to be used. And that's why we hand-selected Pat and Bonnie on multiple offers, even higher offers, because we thought that this was the absolute perfect location for what they're trying to do.
Thank you.
Can I say something about the name?
Sure, go ahead.
So I went out and I dropped off packets to people because I wanted them to realize that we're just not the average pet owner. But there are chickens next to 16 Old Farm Road. And when I went down there, they were making quite a ruckus, and I drove around the cul-de-sac up to number 7, and you could not hear them. So I could hear them when I was at 16 Old Farm Road, but once you came around the cul-de-sac, you couldn't hear them. And we do not have vendors come and bring in dog food. I pick up the dog food myself. I do not sell collars. I do not sell anything. We don't really do because we have enough to do with our own dogs. And this is a passion of ours that we want to do. We have 5 right now that are seniors, and we may not have one in a couple of years. And we're not just trying to add dogs. We're not trying to just add dogs.
We both work for PetSmart. I'm a manager of PetSmart, so I don't need a vendor. I just bring it right home from work. I can get whatever supplies I need. And she's a dog trainer. So we both work in different locations, so there are no vendors, there are no trucks, there's nothing. These are our kids, these are our children. It's not what everybody thinks it is. And that's what we're trying to convey and have people understand.
To you, that's what you're thinking, but the other people, they
I understand.
totally
That's
different.
why I'm
Yeah.
trying to explain.
Totally
I
different.
mean, we did bring one dog with us if anybody is interested in meeting him. I mean, he's a therapy dog. And you can see for yourself the temperament in what our dogs look like.
Sir?
My name's Jim Gilmore. I live on Lamppost Drive, which in my backyard abuts Old Farm Road. And I just want to voice my opinion and say that I oppose this as well, because I really find it highly unlikely that I'm not going to hear dogs making noise on that road where their residence is. And I don't believe that that type of business belongs in a residential area. Okay, it belongs in a commercial area, and you know, I like my backyard. It's nice and quiet and peaceful. And again, I moved there for a reason, nice and quiet. I don't want to be disturbed, you know. And I think at least 14 dogs that they have now, it's going to be multiplied. The number will be multiplied, and I believe it also creates a sanitary issue as well. You know, and you know, picturing all these dogs in a residential home, living there, it doesn't jive with me. That's all I want to say.
He's on Lamppost Road. There's an Old Farm, and we're over here. So he's abutting our street, but he's not abutting our property.
Sir?
This commercial license, what's the limit on how many dogs you can have?
Whatever we would set it to.
And if you say set it for 14 or 22, what's to stop them from coming back next year, say we want 40 dogs? Like we had the problem with the other.
It depends on the litter, how many litters they want. We can limit them to how many litters they can have a year. We have to put a limit on, like the previous kennel, we put a limit on them, but that's a different story here.
But they can come back next year and say, we want to up our...
We probably will say no.
They could try.
We'd have to approve that. But part of the problem was what was happening over there wasn't okay. That they were.
I think what you think is 10 acres sounds like a lot, but the only part that's clear is maybe a quarter to a third of an acre. And it's right along our property line where their house lines up with our in-ground swimming pool. And so the grass area is right directly behind the house. So I mean, you know, it's not way back there. It's going to butt there. 5 acres on Lamppost Road, you know, our houses, our property is not very wide. I mean, we hear the chickens, we like the chickens. The owners are SPCA, any kennel where nobody can bark. I mean, it's just really gonna, I mean, you just don't know how many houses we looked at to find this house with the land and the privacy and great neighbors. I mean, we have the best neighbors. But you know, it's just really gonna, it's gonna do us in. I mean, we spend our whole summer, we spend 5 months of the year in our backyard. And I mean, I love dogs, I have 2 dogs, but I don't, 14 dogs, I just don't see how it's not gonna be smelly and loud.
Miss,
Hi, can I just ask a question?
can you state your name, please?
Yes, Laura Lombardi, we're on Untitled Chapter. What kind of precedent does that set to state? God, if they sold it in a year, 2 years, couldn't they sell it to somebody else in the kennel? What would that look like?
I don't know.
Like once that commercial license is granted, that's transferable, right, if they were to sell?
It's a special permit, and we can set conditions on that.
Okay, so you don't think it sets up a precedent?
No.
Anybody else? Sir?
My name's Steve Foote. I live on 5 Naples. I'm with my neighbors. That's a beautiful neighborhood. We love it, quiet. Just because he doesn't, that's why he's leaving. That's good for him. It's not good for the rest of us. I know everybody's saying here it's an epic neighborhood. It's beautiful. Actually, I love it quiet. I love hearing myself read sitting out my fire pit, to be honest with you. And to be honest with you, with these kennels in the back of their yard, abutting the wetlands, all that wildlife is going to drive those dogs ape. Whether there's a privacy fence there or not, they're going to smell each other, and it's going to drive them even more crazy. And I feel bad for the people that live close. I just happen to live on the other street. I oppose it. That's all I have.
Thank you.
We bought Jim Beebe from 1405 Road. We moved there in 2017. We bought there where we were on 106 in Plimpton. We were right on the main drag, very busy street, trucks going by all day long. It's constant noise. We bought this nice, peaceful, quiet neighborhood. We have 2 dogs. They occasionally bark. I let them out at night because there is coyotes and wildlife out there. They sense them, they bark. And occasionally you'll hear going around the neighborhood, and people have one, couple dogs here and there. But if there's 14 dogs at Gary's house, their house, it's just gonna set them. It's gonna go crazy. Not questioning their dogs' temperaments or anything else, but there's wildlife around, they're gonna die. 14 dogs and a lot of noise.
Any more questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just one question. They mentioned something about training, so they're going to add that to the traffic of people bringing dogs to the house, or are they going to add that to the dogs that are already at the house? I mean, they mentioned some of the things that they do as far as...
You're not gonna have people bring dogs to your house
I
then?
signed non-compete when I started with PetSmart, that I cannot train anywhere else. I cannot be a trainer anywhere else but PetSmart. When I train my dogs, I go to different facilities to train them. And yeah, they practice out the backyard.
But you're not gonna bring dogs?
I'm not bringing dogs over.
Anybody else? State your name.
Scott Stunzanis, I'm a real estate agent with Compass. I represent the seller, Gary Waller and his wife Jenna. Just want to address a couple points that the butters have made. In regards to the number of dogs, according to your bylaws, Chapter 82, Article 3, Regulation of Dogs, specifically 82-6, license fees. B, kennel license. Now I realize we're discussing commercial kennel license here, but kennel licenses, a non-commercial license, this does not permit an owner to board, breed, or sell the dogs. You can have 5 to 9 dogs and pay the town of Halifax $90. You can have 10 dogs or more, you pay the town of Halifax $175. There's no cap. So theoretically, I could have 25 dogs, 50 dogs, 100 dogs. It's in your bylaws. And to address the noise, Chapter 82, Article 2, nuisances by dogs. Specifically 82-2, no person shall own or keep in this town any dog which, by barking, howling, or in any manner disturb the quiet of any person. So we're all talking a hypothetical here. Let's not put the cart before the horse, all right? They have been kind enough to provide you with a bunch of literature, including recommendation letters from their current neighbors that say the dogs are harmless.
So, when I dropped these off, I did talk to a couple of neighbors, and one of the neighbors said, well, every time she walks by a particular house in there, those dogs bark at her dog, and she doesn't like them barking. And I said, well, I walk my dogs every day, and they'll probably bark when I walk mine by. But they're not my dogs barking at somebody going by our house. So that's something that we can't control, but that's going to happen also with other people's dogs. So, so you're going to make them, say that they can't have their dogs because they bark when another dog goes by?
You're not going to be able to control the dog in you. If it's going to bark, it's going to bark,
Well, if my dog's bark, I wouldn't admit because I am not careful barking. I hear barking all day long, and it's not something I care for either.
Sure.
Rich Silva, 17 Old Farm Road. Like Jim, my wife and I purchased our land over 20 years ago and built our house for the exact reason where it is. One thing I think about is you keep mentioning they walk the dogs every day. That means you're going to have 14 dogs walking up and down the street every day?
I may not walk all 14 of them every day, but I also...
You say you walk your dogs every day.
I don't walk the dogs every day. I may walk one group of 3. I may walk a group of 2. I don't walk more than 3 at a time. But I do walk, when I feel like walking, I do walk my dogs. I also take them to Burridge a lot of times.
My lot is also at the end, what we call it set, right next to Jen and Stone. And we're totally against this. Totally against it. I think everybody here is. Isn't everyone here for this reason?
Right. What's the pleasure of the board? We need to find out what kind of facility they're going to put in dogs in. They need some kind of if they want a kennel, they have to provide us with a design of how they're going to do this kennel.
I would think we would need that first.
Yeah, just to be fair.
So we know exactly the conditions that they're having. I think a site visit's going to happen.
You have to give us a site plan of what you have to do, where you're going to keep the dogs, how these dogs are going to be, where they in the daytime when you're not there, where they're going to be living. They're not going to be all 14 of them. You're not going to house them in the houses. Are you going to put them in kennels, or what are you going to do with them? We need to know that before we do anything else.
Mr. Chairman?
How these dogs are going to be treated.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask, have you talked with the Board of Health at all about, is there a limit, as far as the Board of Health is concerned, about the number of dogs you can have in a house? That might be something you want to check with. I think 14 is excessive.
It is excessive.
I think before you commit to anything, you would want to check. Okay? And, in my opinion, unlike what happened earlier tonight, these residents have what we would consider, I would consider a highly credible complaint and concern. And I get a feeling, I'm a dog person. Okay, I love dogs. Yes, I want to meet the dog afterwards. But you could very well, I feel you're the exception and not the rule. The problem is, once you're there, if you're not the exception, then they're going to suffer. So we really need to have all the information we can get in front of us that you can get us.
I don't think any of us are dog owners. Nobody's dogs.
Yeah, for me, you provided a lot of evidence of a lot of people who know dogs well that say very good things about what you're going to do. For me, the two things I think that if we're going to approve a special permit for this, we have to make sure it's not detrimental to the established character of the neighborhood, and that there's no deleterious effect of noise or any other subject of the business. And so that there is a lot of argument. Again, there's not a ton of evidence necessarily that was brought in front of us, just like there wasn't evidence prior. Just feelings. But I think there's a good argument. Yeah, I think there's a good argument for me to know if there were 36 dogs in my neighborhood in a house, it would be hard for me to believe that I wouldn't hear them. Because I can hear dogs in my neighborhood that are my neighbors all the time. And to think of, like, and you clearly know better than probably everybody in the room what your dogs do and how they act. What I think would go a long way for the 5 of us and for probably your neighbors that you'll have to live next to if you moved in there, is to make everyone feel as though there isn't an effect of those 36 dogs or 28 if there's 2 litters at a time. Like 7 puppies. If somebody decided to tell me I was going to have 7 puppies in my house for a weekend, that would be a lot for me. So, like, you know what I mean? And I hope that we can find a point, if there's a point to approve this, that your neighbors feel as good about this as we would need to, because I think that you're going to have to live next to these people, and that's going to be more important than whatever decision we make. But for us to approve this, I think we have to, I would have to see what it looks like on those 10 acres. Right now, my concern is that you're not using much of that. It looks like you're not using much of the 10 acres. And I just pulled up a Google map, and it certainly does look like his pool is right next to your house. And it's probably pretty likely that they would hear 7 puppies and 14 dogs in your house. Maybe that's not the case. And if that's not the case, I think we just need to see more evidence of the case. And I think that maybe a site visit might help. I think that, you clearly feel more comfortable about 21 dogs in your house than I think a lot of people in the room do. And I think we need to get to that point to be able to approve it.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
That's fine.
I also think that we're going to have 21 dogs for a long period of time, which we're not. And like you said, we're not the one.
And we're also dealing with a neighborhood that's never had a commercial business on that road ever, and people chose to live there for that reason. And it's a big change for them to have it. And I would feel the same way, because there's no business in my street either.
And I can also tell you that if you ask any person that lives on the cul-de-sac that we live on right now, they can't tell you how many dogs we have, because, and the only way you know that is if you came to ask.
Well, that was something I was going to suggest.
Might not be a
I
terrible
don't know
idea.
if you could invite some of your neighbors to come to your location so they could see your operation and see the dogs and see how they react and get a feel for the noise or something else. I mean, it's true. What he's saying is you've got to convince them that you're going to be a good neighbor. I mean, hey, this sounds like the dogs you do for training dogs and therapy dogs. It sounds great. Absolutely great. And it's probably fine. But they don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you would invite them down, if you had a Saturday or something, invite a few of the people down, if they wanted to come and look, they can come down and look and see how your operation goes and see the dogs that are there.
We don't live in your neighborhood, they do.
Yeah.
They need to be secured. They need to be, so that they're not going to be any problems.
And you guys absolutely seem like you put a lot of effort, care, and your entire being into taking care of these dogs, and you're probably going to be great neighbors. I just don't. This town has a little bit of a scar right now because we ended up on Channel 4 because of this whole thing, and it was pretty nasty. And that's a little bit of this. It's also, I think, that there's a commercial business on that street where people chose to live there for that specific reason, and they don't want that. So if a big piece of that detrimental to the established character of the neighborhood is the fact that there's the entire neighborhood and the street next to it that's coming in really concerned. And I would feel uncomfortable approving that unless there was evidence to the contrary. Does that make sense? That's just for me.
Thank you.
Is that going to be a continuance or?
Yeah,
are you gonna?
We can do a site visit.
A site visit for 16. Well, we don't have any counter on it. We don't have any fence there.
We go see where they're gonna put stuff and see
Well,
how it's
let's say
laid
you
out.
were gonna buy a piece of property and it was contingent upon, you getting building permits. They would be required to go to an engineer, pay an engineer, get the septic system done, get the building envelope done, and present it to a board. You may wanna have some type of a drawing done and bring it back, and,
And you may talk to the owner to see if he's acceptable to a site visit.
right,
I mean, we have to give you either a continuance or you have to withdraw your.
Well, we vote on it.
Yeah, I don't
Or
think
we
we're
vote on it.
prepared
We
to
don't
vote.
want to vote on it.
We're trying to give you
We're trying to give you time
opportunity.
and get more information.
We'll have our fence guy draw up before we leave.
Just an idea of what it will look like, I think that might help.
Anybody want to make a motion?
Okay, I'll make a motion for a site visit.
Dude, it's like that, someone said.
And that would be
Now
on-
we need the van. Now we need the van. Where's Bert? We need the van.
And that would be on,
We can bring a basket, picnic basket.
That's, no, we can have a picnic, yeah.
we already have one on for
9, on the
9
4th,
o'clock.
on the 2nd? So you need 9:30? Does that work on the 2nd, October 2nd? It's a Saturday.
I'd say 10.
On Friday? Can you do Friday?
Friday afternoon?
Usually Saturday. Usually Saturday morning.
Well, they can't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm available at any time, unfortunately.
Well, you gotta do it there available.
Yeah.
Right.
I can make whatever work.
The second at 9:30? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Anyone second that?
I don't know what happened. What did we just do right this thing? What are we doing?
Site visit at 9:30 on the second.
I'll second that, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye. I'm not sure what's going on.
Motion to continue?
Yes.
Motion to continue?
Petition 972, I'll second it. 952, I'll second it. How you doing down there? You getting all this?
All in favor to continue?
Yes, I'm in favor of continuance.
Continue, yeah, it's a motion to continue.
Oh, we need a time and a date. Yeah, so 7:20 on, I think, it was Bob's motion. We need a date and time. Can we do that?
Date and time, October 4th, I don't know, 7:20.
He says October 4th is 7:20 with gusto. I mean, we're gonna be here till 11 o'clock anyway, talking about jobs, so, yeah.
Okay.
I know. Well, I was here for that. She was also cheating, like she would come and make fun of crap all the time, and she had more jobs than she said she was
You know, yeah.
Yeah, that was bad.
What's on next?
What's next?
Oh.
They did withdraw. I saw.
Anybody here?
This is what he's working for the whole time. Wait, so this is withdrawn, so we just need to accept the withdrawal?
Oh, they withdrew? They withdrew? Can't hear.
Hold on.
Please be quiet.
That's Sammy. Okay. What?
Actually, no. Sorry, I'm out of it today. I've been up since 1 o'clock.
So we can skip this, we need a motion to accept the withdrawal, right? So I'll make a motion to accept the withdrawal put in by the petitioner for petition number 953.
Second? Yes?
All in favor?
Yes?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Everybody else? So it's not gonna go? So we're gonna do the minutes now?
Oh, yeah. storage.
So what, do you have a discussion now with this other guy?
No, he's not here.
Oh, he's not here.
Discussion.
Meeting minutes?
You signed it, right?
The bills are signed, yep.
Bills are signed.
Oof. This was not like this when I started. What happened to the zoning board of appeals? This used to
I
be
think we're on the minutes now.
pretty chill.
August
And
9th.
it's just us.
Thank you guys. Brutal job.
Thank you for noticing. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of August 9th, 2021. Guess nobody liked those.
Second?
minutes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. There's 3.
4, 5.
Bob still didn't
We all
sign.
accept it. What else we got?
Pay the bills?
Bills are paid.
You
They're
signed
all
them, do you need
signed.
us to
Don't
motion?
we have to sign the letter, the denial or acceptance of a...
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just need to go grab it. You want me to grab it?
That's the drawings for the apartment-in-law.
Oh, you already typed all this stuff in? God, you're amazing. Wow. What did I do? Just write my name and sign it, right? Okay.
That's for curtain oil?
Yeah. What's that? I'm in trouble.
Have we heard anything about our recommendation for an associate? A recommendation for an associate?
We're on the bills now. We got to vote for these.
What's that?
Hey,
Oh,
That's a good time.
that's my good friend.
That I've been up since 4.
Do you want to make a motion to pay the bills?
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah, motion to pay the bills?
We've got things, bills and correspondence.
Any other business?
Do the bills.
I'll make a motion to pay the Plimpton Halifax Express invoices.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. I'll make another motion to pay the bills for Harry B. Harding and Sons,
Second?
office supplies.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
You did?
Anything special in the correspondence? Or?
Well, yeah, we... All right. should I say that you told me?
What's happening?
So, the
thingy?
meeting that was switched to tomorrow night, the third one down on the correspondence, I think they're gonna have a discussion about
That's the meeting that got moved. right?
Alana's, who's going to be Alana's supervisor. Currently, if I get this right, it's the building inspector. And the discussion's gonna be, is it gonna be the building inspector or the board? And I think how it turned out was Charlie wanted someone from this board to be at that meeting to discuss.
You wanna be there?
I can't, I have a meeting.
So it's now moved to the what, the 29th?
That's a different one, that's the head departments, I guess, head of departments.
You wanna be there?
I'll go, yeah.
So there's a meeting tomorrow night, that's this meeting tomorrow night at 5.
Who they wanna pick for your supervisor?
It's the
Is there
building
something we
inspector.
wanna discuss?
Building inspector is supposed to be.
Who is the building inspector? Is anybody gonna tell us who that is? Is he ever gonna come introduce himself?
He's not back in.
Okay. And he's also the zoning enforcement agent? Thank you for letting us know. Oh. Have you met him?
Yes.
Okay. Is he planning on coming to introduce himself or? Yeah.
And tell me if I'm wrong, from what I understand is he's requested not to be the supervisor of planning and conservation secretaries, but remaining with you. So there's gonna be a discussion, I guess, with the selectmen. We could ask Mr. Andrews what's going on with that.
You wanna ask him?
Yeah, what's going on with that?
There's a meeting tomorrow night to discuss it.
And what are they specifically discussing?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I'm going to be allowed to act or not, so I don't know.
Good enough.
So what are the options?
Yeah, I
I
guess.
guess
Is he
we
supposed to
become
be
a
the-
supervisor or he remains a
enforcement officer?
supervisor.
Well, he's still the zoning board enforcing officer for any kind of violations, as far as I understand, unless that's
So
taken
he's
away.
currently, so Rob was the supervisor of conservation, planning,
And
zoning, and that's it? And is there anybody else?
So now we need
So now
one for
he
every
just
board?
wants to be your supervisor, but we've had 3 meetings and he hasn't even shown up to a meeting here yet? And I've never seen a letter he's written or anything? But he wants to be your supervisor, and you work arguably for us, for the town, for the zoning board, right? What else does he do? Like, has anybody gotten any correspondence as to why he wants to do that? No.
So he came from, what, Bridgewater? Well, East Bridgewater. He
Do
was,
you have any input on this? And you guys hired him, or somebody else hired
I
him?
did not hire him.
Okay.
I will just say, speaking from a town person,
Yeah.
I called because I was waiting on a permit.
Yeah.
He said that when Rob was done, everything was just left, no one helped him, so he's been weeding through things for 3 to 4 weeks, just trying to catch up on permits. The secretary wasn't helping him, no one was helping him. So that may be where he's at, and I'm just saying that from a town person.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to get his head above.
Did you talk to him?
I spoke directly to him, yes.
And did you talk to him about maybe coming and introducing himself to the zoning board?
He said, I should see you soon. Because I said, oh, I'm on the zoning board. He said, oh, great, right across the hall.
Yeah.
It was a very nice conversation, but he was like, I'm sorry for the delay in your permit. He said, I'm getting to it. I just have a giant stack, and no one here is letting me know what's going on with anything.
so we have a problem with.
So
somebody-
I think the problem is there may be an adversarial relationship with he and Terry. That's just what I'm getting from a resident conversation.
Yeah.
No, not a, like, official conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah,
That's
no.
the most information I've gotten
No, so
about
that's-
anything
no,
in
and
6
so-
months.
And so that's what I think we might be dealing with here.
Okay.
I think he's probably just trying to go through the motions, get caught up.
Yeah.
And he's probably dealing with some internal office strife.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's
Oh,
some sour
I'm
grapes.
sure. The situation is terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but that was my personal experience.
That's good to know. Thank you.
So we have a problem with somebody that's not, going by the book when we pass a petition. Who is supposed to be going there to enforce it?
Well, that's still his job.
But he doesn't want to be.
Well, he does. He wants to keep our line on it.
Yeah,
But he
keep
will be
our
the
line
only
on it.
person he supervises?
And what kind of supervision would he be giving you?
The same as Rob.
Day to day.
The same as Rob. We're putting a lot of pressure on you because he's going to be your supervisor. That's terrible.
Well,
As long as,
okay, so as I understand it, and I could be wrong, when the request was made, I think the Board of Selectmen were just gonna summarily make a decision, and I think Charlie suggested that we get the different boards' input.
Yeah.
And I think that's what this meeting tomorrow night is about. So we do need some type of representation.
Yeah, I have no problem going.
Okay.
I have no problem going at all. Yeah.
Is it now? Are we posted to go? If all 5 of us show up, is that going to be a problem? Okay. And it's at 8:05 with the selectmen downstairs. Or up?
I'm moving this way so I can hear you.
Oh yeah. I know.
I can talk loud about
It's much easier when we're in the other room. If we could just start having petitions that make the entire town show up, we might have a better meeting.
I can talk loud, but my wife says to use my inside voice.
Yeah, I can use my teacher voice, I guess. Okay, so it's 8:05.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if anyone who wants to go, let's go.
If I can make it, I want to get down there, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's, we want to find out what is exactly happening here.
If I can make it, I don't think I can make it. If I can make it, I'll make it.
Okay. I could probably go there.
Pick up at soccer at 7:30.
I missed my kid pitching today to be here. That's why I was like coming in on one wheel into the parking lot. Not really. This is recorded. That's a problem. That's not true. 4 wheels very slowly. I think he didn't do very well. So I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. Okay. So that's tomorrow. What else? Anything else happening that we should know about? What's this meeting that just got moved?
So, can I just off the record, that other agent called me because I had a house for sale on Hudson Street.
Yeah, this is recorded, by the way. So nothing's off the record. And that mic is probably hot, so these green lights have been on the whole time.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
I think that's the only viable offer they currently have. Just,
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. So that's not a meeting we need to go to. Okay.
I can speak to that because that's the data.
Excellent.
So the department head meetings that go around so whoever the chair of the zoning board is would be invited to go to that meeting, chair of the planning board, chair of the conservation. Basically, it's to find out what's going on in the town, what the different departments are dealing with issues, see if we're all dealing with the same issue, there's some solutions we can provide to. So it's really to get an idea of what's going on and how to fix the issues that the town employees and town departments have.
For the regulatory stuff.
Be a chair.
You're the acting chair. I would assume you voted to reorganize. So.
Let's do it. How about
Do you want to have that conversation right now?
Right now, 2 seconds. How about we reorganize and pick a chairperson?
I would prefer waiting to see if we're gonna get any other appointments or something like that, because we've had an open position for about 300 years that hasn't been filled since the town was formed, so. I don't know how anybody else feels.
No, I feel the same way. We might as well, find out what the hell is going on here.
Because I
I mean, personally, I think everything's going fine.
Right. I guess that's the issue. Is I've been on this board for a number of years. I've seen us try to manage I think we're getting better at managing stuff. I think we've learned a lot and we're getting better. What I don't understand is what the town and the leadership of the town wants from us. And that's because we haven't even met the new zoning enforcement agent, and he's been appointed, I think, in July. Is that right? I think, right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, it was midsummer. It's now mid-September. We've had multiple meetings. We haven't even been informed that there's a new person. I just have to check YouTube and watch videos and read the paper. So, without any public comment, without any reasoning whatsoever, there were interviews for this board. There were selections for this board. There were Tina, you seem spectacular, and you're calling the building inspector, but I don't understand why the associate position wasn't filled. I don't understand. We weren't involved in any of the process. We just sent a formal letter to the Board of Selectmen. It's not even addressed. That's been kind of the norm. I don't feel comfortable voting on a chairman of this board or making any further decisions outside of the petitions that are in front of us, without stopping feeling like we have a target on our back all the time. And I guess I don't understand why that is, because everyone I've met has always tried to do the right thing that they think is right, and and it seems like you're doing the same thing, and I appreciate it. So, I don't get it. I don't know how anybody else feels.
Tonight was a perfect example of how this board works.
Mm-hmm.
Everything happens right here.
We don't all agree. There's no question about that, yeah.
So, I mean, I guess I don't know, put you to terrible. I know you can't wait to just get rid of it, but because it's as he said perfectly, it's terrible, brutal, but and it's the worst it's ever been volunteering for this board, but I don't mind doing it. So maybe I've said too much.
This guy wants a delivery from
Okay.
Okay.
Are we all set to adjourn? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Yes.
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 Yes, that's.
You're supposed to ask.